Hello everyone and welcome to the third episode of our Agile Toolkit tutorial. And in this episode we will continue working on our enrollment application. And with me today is Brad, who will be helping me out to define this application, and also he will guide us through what other features are necessary and how he would like to see them. Hi, Brad.
Hello, Romans, and hello, everybody. Welcome to be here. Happy to be here again.
Okay. Brad, for the people who joined us only recently from this episode, could we simply go over the tabs and look at different entities and try to make sense how they connect together? Because we created quite a few models last time, and I have also added the CRUDs for each of them, but we need to understand the architecture of all of this.
Sure, not a problem. The company tab, our application, we do corporate training for companies, so we have to have a company tab there to actually add different companies that we're doing training classes for. The next tab is the classes tab, and that is actually used to create dates and tuition cost and duration of the actual class, and actually adding those to a course schedule, so to speak.
Okay.
And
so that's just the title, pretty much, of the class. It doesn't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Courses is for title. Yep. And so I made a mistake there. The next one is the Courses tab, and the Courses tab is actually for what I just talked about, adding dates to a class schedule.
Right. So that's a class with dates. So that was a class title, and then a class schedule, which shows us the dates. There's a slight difference in the way how it appears in the models and how it's in the database. But I suppose we could change the database tables at some point without affecting the UI. Right. So for the title, I suppose there is no relationship, but for the schedule, first of all, it relates to title. There's a class title ID, then start date, end date, duration, notes, laptops, and I think that's all. Locations and instructor, those are just fields there. And now, when someone from a certain company wants to attend some of the classes, this is where enrollments come in. Or is there students before that?
Yep, there's students. So a student is attached to a company.
Okay, so it comes over here.
But it's also attached to a billing contact, which you see at the end.
It's a company ID and the billing ID as well, which is a salesperson. Oh, no, that's wrong.
The company is tied to a salesperson, or vice versa.
Oh, that's billing. Okay. Or
yep.
That's the one. Okay, so salesperson, it doesn't play any role with our structure at the moment.
Right.
So student in here, and let's link the billing with the billing. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, it starts to make more sense now. And that's the enrollment. So enrollment links us between the student ID primarily and the class ID, which points to class schedule, right?
That's correct.
All right.
No, I'm sorry, that's not correct.
Oh, no?
No?
No, the class ID relates to the class titles, the dates ID relates to class schedule.
Oh, that's right, yeah. So dates ID goes here.
And then of course we have the company ID, the billing ID, if you want to do that as well.
Right. So it's a company ID and the billing ID. Okay, for everything else for now is not that essential, so I'm gonna pull that over here. Oops. So it was Okay, I hope that this structure makes sense. And let's just look again at over here. So we have quite a few companies in here, and again, separately we have also the classes. For the companies, we created the ability to edit salespeople, so we decided not to put it separately, but do it like that as a small pop-up. So these are our sales representatives who would go to companies and deal with them, and we can see how they link together in here. So if I want to change a salesperson assigned to this company, I would go over here. We also have billing information. So that's a billing contact for a certain company, right? So we pick a company, and that's the billing information. And I suppose one company could have multiple billing contacts.
That's correct.
Right. So that's what that's regarding the companies. Next we have classes. This is just titles. Then we look at the courses, and for the course we have critical two fields, which is starting date and ending date. Location, instructor, and so on and so on. Then we have students. So those are people, actual physical people who are coming from the company. There is a billing ID, and finally we end up with enrollments. That's the table which links all the mentioning before together. So that's the date, that's the class, student, and so on and so on. Finally, we have a billing table, which probably just the same as in here, just separately. Okay, and for today we have a couple of tasks. Starting with introducing filters. We have quite a few information. We want to see more relevant information, and also introducing some statistics for the table based on the calculated fields. Then we will look at how we can send emails out, and finally we will work on a check-in page, which would help someone to quickly tick off people who have attended the class as they arrive. And we're also going to look inside reports, which is pretty much outputting the same information but in a different format. And I'm going to show you how that might look, for example. So something like that, maybe a text on top, a couple of bits and pieces here which can be filled from the database, and the table in our own format. So that's a report. We also will need to build something like that. Right. So let's also go quickly through the code. So we have an application which was initially integrated with CodeIgniter, but we cleaned up the relationship, and that's just Agile Toolkit now. Okay, so that's our API class. The only thing I do here is define the menu. We will need a report page for our lesson today, and the check-in page. We don't need billing actually, so I'll remove that. So those are the two we'll probably need today. And also I'd like to do a mail test page, which will help me test our ability to send out emails. That's a temporary page. Everything else I'm going to close down. There's just lots of models in there. And well, let's go ahead with the filter. So courses, yeah, this one.
Yep.
Okay, so the way how filter works, the filter is basically a form which I'm going to place in front of here, and when I interact with the form, it will affect this grid and reload it. Also, the filter will need to remember its settings, so when I set something in the filter, go someplace else or refresh the page, it will remember what was the previous values of the filter. Okay, that right now this is a really simple CRUD here, nothing more, and I'm going to add a form here. There is a comment from Lee. He asks, can you also do the sorting? Let me get the sorting out of the way first. So they are not sortable at the moment. The ability to sort by certain columns can be defined inside the model. Simply if I add the flag sortable.
So Roman, you can actually pick the columns that you want to be sortable.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, what else? Which other we want to do? Laptops? Okay, we could do laptops as well. Okay, how many laptops? Let's while we are here in the model, let's add another thing, and I want to show a field which would tell me how many people have enrolled so far. Now, there are two ways to do that. We could either create a physical field, and every time we have a new enrollment, we would update this field, or we could define it as a calculated field, or how we call it, an expression, and then work with that. And with Agile Toolkit, there is very little difference whether or not this field is a physical or a calculated. So I'm going to go with a calculated one because it's more exciting. And this is how you define. So it's a regular field. It returns the same object. Can have all the same modifiers as a regular one. So let's say students. Okay. The only thing I need to do is set what exactly is going to be there, and several things could be in here. Let's start with 2 plus 2. Let's see if that would work. Okay, so I have a new field now which says enrolled, and it executes a SQL expression, calculates how much is 2 plus 2, and it shows 4. Okay. I also could do other things like ID plus 1000. See if that works. Works fine. So it works with any expressions. But the problem is when I'm starting joining tables, sometimes the ID field becomes what's the word for that? Non-deterministic. Like it could be ID from any table, and the way how we get around that is by giving an actual expression here. So first of all, let's have a variable expr. And for now, just do the same 2 plus 2. It still says 4, but it is slightly different. So right now, this expression is actually going to be an object. Can output that. So that's the object of the class db dsql, and then because we're working with MySQL, that's MySQL. So it's more than a string. We could do different things with it. Let's what else we can do? I have touched about the SQL already. Wonder if this will work. Okay, if you want to know more about expressions, it was in one of the hangouts from the previous episodes. So I would like just to focus on the specific query and build it in here. So the way how we create subquery is by traversing the reference. So we want to see the, hold on, that's a class date. Yeah, we need to define the hasMany relationship first. Okay, so this, if this model relates to class dates using this field, then this model would relate to enrollment using same field, date ID. Okay. Now back to this line. So ref SQL count. And I believe that's all. So we have enrollments ID. Let's just do the debug output of the model in here, and I'm going to enlarge it so we could actually look what happens in here. So that's our select. As you can see, that this is a subselect to get the title name because it's coming from a different table. But this is my field for a number of enrolled students, and what it does, it works with enrollment table, selects count, and when it joins, it automatically makes sure that the dates ID match on the both sides. Right. So this is as easy as it can be. So I just create expression over here, and that's it. So those are a number of enrolled students. Let's have another column which would tell us how many students have enrolled and also have checked in, because for the students there is a field. Okay, here in enrollments we have a checked in, which is a boolean. So let's see how many are checked in students. And before we do that, I suppose, okay, let's do it this way. I'm going to create a new model which is based on enrollment but would have a condition. Model. So we have enrollment right now is going to be checked in enrollment. And instead of using model table, I can extend from model enrollment. I'm not going to do anything just yet. Instead, I'm going to say there is a relationship between this table and checked in enrollment. Okay, just as easy as that. And I will also copy this enrolled, call it checked in students. Okay, checked in enrollment. Checked. All right. Good. That's enrollments. Where were we? courses. Right, so are you with me, Brad? Let me know if you're losing me, if I'm being too...
No, I gotcha. We're figuring out how many people are enrolled that actually checked in,
Yes.
right?
Yes, and that's a pretty significant thing for Agile Toolkit. So as you can see, not only all the fields are equal to Agile Toolkit, and yeah, I promised you we're gonna do the sorting. Let's make this calculate field sortable. So it's being calculated, but I still can order using this field. Let's do the same thing on the other field here as well. But the models are also pretty unique. Agile Toolkit treats all the models in the same way. So if I have model, which is called checked in enrollment, and it's based on existing model, but let's say I have a condition, which was checked in. Okay, if I have this model and it has some condition, that also the same rule applies. I can use it elsewhere, and as you can see, the values now differ. So only 2 students who actually checked in, but 7 students who enrolled. And I can still sort by this column. So now it's just works, and it actually is pretty complicated query in there. But it's still only one query. So I'm gonna bring the debug again, just to see that everything is clean in here. That's the only select which is executed by this grid, and you can see this is the first one, the first one we created, but that's the second one. The only difference is that the checked in is equal to 1, and it properly prepends all with the tables in here and still joins it. It joins the same table twice, so there's no limitation how many times you can join, and creates a new field. So as we continue working with the reports and other things, probably will be getting back to that, but these are just as usual fields like anything else. It doesn't matter how complex their calculation routine is. They appear in Agile Toolkit as regular fields. You can't edit them though, because those are read-only fields. If I click edit, it's not here, obviously, because they are being calculated. Right. So what next we should do? Let's add that filter. Okay, so I'm going to be going back here, creating a form. I'll call it a filter, and just add a couple of fields. I won't have a model for this form, so I add fields manually, and let's say I'm in a checkbox, which would say should I say in the future or right now? Future. Yeah, can you help me out here? Suggest what we actually want to filter for.
Yeah, we would be filtering by. Can you go back? Can I just see the screen real quick again? Okay, we're in courses. We're actually going to filter by a date range.
All right, so could be date. So date picker. Can I ask you if that date applies to the start date, ending date, or both?
Start date.
Okay. All right, so we have dates now. What else? You know what? Let's add a checkbox here and say filtered by date. Yeah, so if that checkbox is clicked, we will apply the filter, otherwise we will not. Yeah, that's all right?
That's right. Okay, that sounds good. I think that's good to start. Let's see how this works.
Yeah, and okay. Yeah, let's see how it works. So first of all, let's make it so when I submit the form, this field would, the table would refresh itself. And it is pretty easy. So CRUD if we look at the situation over here, I have two variables. One is pointing out to our filter form, the second one is CRUD. And I can define one, then define second one, and then do something to them again. This involves some binding between them, and interaction between them. And I can make any two elements interact, even if they're not defined in the same place, as long as I have the variables to reach them. So, but here I do if filter. I want CRUD reload. Okay, so what I'm trying to achieve here is whenever the form is being submitted, this will actually refresh, and that's it. It just works out of the box. Just to know that even though it's been refreshed, it still have all the JavaScript bindings working properly. So I still can sort. Let's see if it resets sorting. So it does refresh it, but grids remember how they're being sorted. So if I sort by laptops and apply the filter, it still remembers the sorting sequence.
Okay, so you don't have to resort again.
No, it remembers. Right. So now let's the next thing. Let's so we have two date fields. Let's apply this formula whenever I click apply. But before we do that, I need to explain how the interaction between the front end and the back end works. First of all, when I just open this page, the initialization initialized both objects, and then it renders them both within the context of the page and the global API. That's why I have all the menus and everything. When I click the form apply button, it does a request to the backend again. So this code is going to be executed once again, but this time this method will return true, and therefore the execution will jump inside here. When it reaches the execute, instead of proceeding to the rendering, it will simply reply back with a string of the JavaScript. Let's see if I could just do echo. No, I wouldn't do that. So it will send this information back to the front end, but it will not re-render anything. And once this string reaches back the browser, it issues a third request, and this time it asks, can you please reload the grid? So when I click apply, actually two requests are happening. The first one is to the form, but the second one to the grid. And when the grid request is happening, so it's still going through this procedure, so it's the third time, but it will only render the grid. It will not re-render the form, because we only asked to re-render the grid. We didn't ask to re-render the form, and that's how interaction is happening in here. Possibly not the best possible way. Maybe we could save a little bit on those reloads, but we need it because we need to send some data to the backend. So, which means we need to save data in some sort of session, and when we're loading the grid, we need to pick it back up. And you remember we already worked with the sessions. So first of all, let's look at the contents of the grid here. And if filter date. So if the date checkbox is ticked, I'll take when I type this, it refers to the page. So just to make sure it, I can recall this information later on, and it wouldn't affect any session variables from other places in the project. Filter. Okay, so I'm saving it here, and now when we where this information might be useful. First of all, we could put it back inside the field. Set date, and if it's not being set yet, I will just have null. Okay. But also, when I'm drawing the grid on the CRUD, if it will also be useful here. So if I'll put it inside variable from equals if from, then we need to add the condition, which would be CRUD grid model start date more or more equal than from. Well, something like that. We'll debug it and see if it works or not. Right, so I'm gonna pick the date, hit apply. Let's refresh the page, see if it wasn't memorized. Oh yeah, but because I didn't have a checkbox here. All right, so there is some problem over there, and let's see what it is. So did I type it correctly? Okay. And start date doesn't have underscore in the database. So that's it. Okay, now, oh, and yes, I refreshed the page and it auto-filled the value back. I didn't do anything with the checkbox though. So let's see if there are something in 2002. Okay, so let's try 25th of December. And we only have courses which are on 25th of December or later. So that's the from date is working. In the same way, we could do the to date. To date. It's still start date, right?
Yep.
To date. Okay, we need to do separate ones, I believe. So if the from is set, we will add this condition. If the to is set, we will add this condition. It should be less or equal. Should we get rid of this checkbox?
Yeah, I think
Because
so.
if fields are empty, it will not filter. Right, so let me try to add 3012. Okay. It wouldn't remember that. Okay, yeah, because this. Now 3012 apply, and yeah, it works. Let's try 28.
Great.
Nice. And if I refresh the page, it remembers those values as well, so it makes sense why things are not showing up in here. And if I clean,
Normally, would you have to have a clear
um,
to clear the data?
yeah, let's add another button for clearing. I'm gonna try with multiple submits. I'm not sure how it works. Maybe someone will be able to tell, because I usually don't have multiple. And I believe it was something like if form nope form. Okay. Okay, so I clicked the clear button and I got this yay there. So basically, I can ask form which button was clicked, and I'm asking if the clear was clicked. Otherwise, I'll do those memorization here. But here I say forget. Actually, let's forget everything stored on this page. So all the information relevant to the page will be forgotten. And we should also clear things in the form so they not appear. And I don't know a better way than simply refresh all the page. Let's just reload all the page. Okay, let's see if clear works. Nope. Does it work because I don't have the page? It should be this. Okay, so I click clear, it trashed everything, and then I just simply reloaded the page and it appears empty without any restrictions now.
That's great. This might be, I got another question for you, Romans. This might be a user interface question more than an Agile Toolkit question, but in some applications, that filter area sometimes is hidden until you click a button where you can actually filter it. Is that something that's built into Agile, the jQuery of actually hiding and bringing something back?
Well, as you know, Agile Toolkit is integrated with jQuery, so if I do filter JS to hide, then it will hide the form, no form. And if I now add the button to the grid add button filter show GS. Oops, not grid but CRUD. Okay, so if I click that, maybe I should do toggle, not show. Okay, so it appears and disappears. Another
That's
thing
great.
we can do is we can do the dialog on it. Let's see if yeah, let's try. If I do dialog like that, I wonder if it'll work. Okay, it just comes up in the dialog now. That's cute. But it still stays on the form. Let's see if it still works. Right. 2812. Yeah, there's a bit of a z-index problem. Oh, no, maybe not. That's because it's not model dialog, so I can still interact with things here. I can sort them, and that filter still lingers around.
Wow, that's great.
Clear. Yeah, it didn't clear the filter though. The reason why not, because it's being moved out from the HTML, but it works reasonably well. So I'll leave it like that. Okay. What should we look inside next? Okay. How about
So we built
yeah.
a filter. Now, when we enroll a student, like to be able to send a confirmation to that student stating that they have been enrolled in the class.
Okay, good. So let's go to this mail test page now, and play a little bit with mail. In Agile Toolkit, there is an object called, I think it was tmail, and the idea behind that class is to reuse the simple HTML engine, template engine, SMLite, but for the purposes of composing a mail. Okay, so that's a blank page, and I'm just gonna add a button. I'm gonna call it send test mail. Okay, now if the button is clicked, we will need to do something in the PHP, and then once it's done, yes, env, I'm gonna show just a notification that it's been done. Okay, visual feedback says email was sent. Now we need to actually send that mail, and that's where this tmail class comes in. Right, so one thing we need when we send out email is the template for the mail, and that's going to be our M, and eventually we're going to send it. I'm just going to try and do that and look at all the exceptions I'm getting. Okay, so I need to configure it, whom the mail is going to be sent from. So I need to go to my configuration file. Put my email in. Okay, what's next? Okay, says the send should have an argument, which is whom we're sending mail. It's going to send email to test.com. Now, on my local machine where I'm doing this demonstration, I don't have the mailing system working, so it won't send an email. But I'll show you how it can still be tested without being configured. So now it's sending something. the TML supports a concept of transports. And when I call add transport, I could specify it could be either a mail, which would be a regular mail function, or I could do other things like SES if I want to send through a simple email service from Amazon. I believe there was a SMTP add-on as well. And Echo is basically going to output the email to me. It's not going to send it, but it's going to output on my screen. So when I send email now, I get something like this. So this is the headers to Romans from to test from Romans. There is a subject, and also tries to send it in HTML. So that's what it would normally send. I'll just get rid of the button for now, so you see it right on the page. Next, let's create a template. How was it? Yes, so I would need to call load template greeting, and you see it expects it to be in a folder which is called template/mail/greeting.mail. I'm going to create a folder, greeting. Okay, hello name, welcome to our system. Okay, now you see it has it duplicated properly, so once for the plain text and another one for HTML. And actually I can do some bits of HTML in here, say h2, and this is going to be a paragraph. So you see it adds those tags in here, but it cleans them out from the text version. So the goal is to organize my email in such a way so when the tags are going to be removed, it would still look okay for the text-only email. Okay. Now I need to put this tag in, which is name. Let's try to do that. Test, and now it says test. So we know the way how we can put the value inside the template. We know the way how we can specify the sender. The only thing we don't know is how to set subject. I'm just gonna try do that, and it does set subject. So subject is as a tag as well. So that's it. That's our simple mailing system. That's how we can easily email people about whatever we want.
Okay, great.
If we want to do something with a model, let's have model, was it enrollment class first. Then I'm gonna do a dump, so I'm gonna use pre, and I want to load any student from the database. I don't care which one, so I'm saying load any, and then I want to do get, which will get all the fields of that particular student, and I'm going to dump it on the screen and exit afterwards. So it loaded a student, Brian Adams, which happens to be ID number 1. He signed up for the Adobe Photoshop level 1. Remember, this was a subselect, so it queried it. Okay, I told you it still works as a regular field, and then this is when the date is, when the class is starting. That's the start date from the dates field from that relation. So I don't actually need to go inside that table. If I wanted, I could. Let's say, can we find out more information about the about a class. That's called traversal. Model enrollment. Okay, class. If I traverse using the field class ID and then get the fields, you will see information about the class. So that's how I can basically get this thing out of the database. And let's put that inside our template now. So m set, and this is going to populate the class information in, and this is going to populate the student information in. So I'm just getting it from the model and setting it inside the template. Oh, sorry, I'm using the same variable over here. Okay, now let me update this to better reflect what's happening with enrollment. Check in. Was it a student name? Just student. Okay, I need to see the dump again. Okay, student ID underscore 2. Right, so now it says hello, Brian Adams, and I can add additional tags in here. Let me just take a look at the schema. What else I could do? Class title, class name. Let's say welcome to Adobe Photoshop CSS level 1, and so on and so on. All right, so if I really want to send this email, I would need to get rid of this, and then it actually use the mail function to actually send it out. But because I don't have the mail, it probably wouldn't arrive anyway. Again, we don't want just any user, but we want some particular user. So now is the question where actually this code should go for mailing things. And I believe it should reside inside the model. So we need to open page, lib enrollment, this over here, and create a new function. And just put the code in here. Model would be equal to this. I'm not going to change the code. I'm just going to create a alias like that. Instead of test, I believe we should have a student's email. Do we have student's email? Student, if we do, yeah. So if we take this ref student ID get email, we will get the email address of that particular student. The subject could be something else. To class, and finally the name could also be coming from the first name and last name over here. Okay, but remember we have a nice field called name, so I'm going to use that. Please ref. Okay. I'm going to put the transport back echo. Yeah. So and finally on the testing page, where is my testing page? I don't have all this code anymore. Instead, I need to do model send welcome mail. Okay, let's see if it still works. It says, hello Brian Adams, welcome to Adobe Photoshop. You see the 2 is properly set to his name in there. It looks pretty good to me.
Yeah.
So that's our mailing. I'm gonna remove the icon here and show you one more thing which is helpful, because sometimes with a developer project, on my local deployment it needs to use echo, but on the testing server it needs to use the mail function, and the production server it needs to use SES. So it's possible to simply configure what transport Tmail is going to use. I believe it was like that. Yeah, so it's echo on my local system. But I can use a different variable, sample else, and it would use a different transport. Again, if I use SES, it requires some additional parameters in the configuration file, such as keys and secrets and so on. Okay, so that's one more thing done for our course. Okay, let me wrap this back inside the button. Okay, so it wouldn't send email just by visiting the page, but only if I click the button. What do you want to look into next?
There's a couple things we could do. We could look at some reports, or we could do the live check-in.
Right. Which one would you like best?
I think let's do the live check-in.
So
just so everybody knows, the live check-in is adding the ability for the person at the front desk, when students arrive in the morning to attend class, to check them in.
okay. So I suppose in that case, the first thing we need to establish is what's the class where students are arriving. Page. And it also would only make sense for the classes which have sort of for the courses which happen today, or so I mean I will need to increase duration of some of these, right? Okay, let me filter by some of the which were in December, and I'm going to extend them so it's not over until 30 of January 2013. I'm going to do the same with this one, and maybe even one more. Okay, what it was rearranging him because sorting is happening by end date. All right, now we need to see the checking page. There's a G at the end, which shouldn't be there. Okay, right, so on this page, first of all, the person needs to select the date. Let's add a form for that. That's the form. Sorry, not the date, but actually select the class. And the drop down, probably, yeah. The second argument is class. Okay, and we need to link it with a model, which can be called M, and I'm going to define it right here. what was it? Class dates. Okay, so these are class dates, but it doesn't show us the field we want to see. So what I'm going to do is change that to class ID. I believe it was like that. Title field. Nope. Okay, I'm gonna peek inside, try to load any. Okay, class title ID. Okay, lovely. So basically what I'm doing, you remember there's variables we define for each model user, for example, model student. No, it was a model. Okay, so this property is being defined in some of the models where we don't have a name, but default it's name. But if we don't have a name field, we can define and choose something else. And instead of showing the starting date, which is a default for model class date. So by default it's start date. We don't want that title field, we want a different one. And I'm just setting the variable in here. But I'm going to show you another way how we can do that. And it's by specifying it over here. This is a sort of dependency injection technique. Okay, like that. And it still works. I'll explain what happens. When I call add and specify the parameter as a string, it will create a new object like that. And afterwards, it's going to call the init field. So the class date has an init field defined and it populates all the fields in here. Once it's done, the reference to this object will be returned, will be stored inside am, and so on. I'm going to continue doing other things. If I change the property like that, title field equals 1 to 3, that means it will happen after init. What if I want to change some property before init? And this array allows us to do exactly that. So if I want to change any property of this class before init actually kicks in, I specify it as an array inside a second variable, inside a second parameter to the add. And this is really powerful technique. It allows us to change many things, such as the class which CRUD is using for forms or for grids, and so on and so on. So many different uses for that. It's not documented for each class individually. Simply, if you see the property, like table in here, remember that you can actually override it by specifying the second parameter. Okay, so that's our drop down in here. Now let's also, so she picks, and after that is being selected, we need to update the list of students who are supposed to attend this, and we also need to make sure it's happening today. So m have some conditions. Start date is more or equal. Start date is less or equal than today's date. And end date more or equal than today's date. Is that correct? Logic-wise. Okay, we only have 3 classes today. Nice. Let's debug that. And I just want to show you this bit over here. So the start date and the value in here is being quoted. So if I put some brackets inside here or try to do some SQL injection, then it's going to prevent doing that. What if I want to do now? That's a SQL expression, and you see it puts that inside the brackets, and it doesn't achieve the result I was hoped it would do. If that's the case, I need to call expression expr of the DSQL, any DSQL, and then it properly understands it as an expression, and see how it works now. And I even can reuse it in multiple places, something like that. Okay. All right, now the next thing I need to do is show list of all the students, but I would only show it if the date was actually being selected. I'm going to use grid, I'm not going to use CRUD, because CRUD already contains grid, and I don't need the form. Okay. So it was enrollment, right? Okay, that's it more or less. But we need to filter it down to someone we have actually selected. I'm going to show you a different technique, what we can do in here. Remember previously we had a form and a grid, and whenever I submit the form, it would send one request and then it send another request. It's possible to do it in a single request as well. So when this dropdown is being changed, actually I'm just going to put it inside the variable, and whenever it's being changed, for now just show it alert. Changed. Oops. Okay. So the problem is that set model returns a model object. I need a drop down, so I'll need to separate this line. Okay, so I change it and I get alert. Good, but we need actually to refresh that thing on the bottom. Okay, so I'm gonna move that a little bit lower over here, and I would say GS reload. Okay, and now it reloads. So before we had the button, now we have the drop down, and it's essential that we pass the selection. So it's going to be, let's say ID, and for now let's say 1, 2, 3, and I'm gonna also do var down. To see if it's actually coming back. Okay, so it's null by default, and if I select something, oh, it's not showing me because of the reload. Need to down. Right. I'll do add button and use this as a text. Okay, finally. So now when I'm selecting something different, it reloads the bottom part of the page. It passes the get parameter. I can't see it because it's jQuery JavaScript Ajax refresh, and it puts this get variable inside this button over here. But this is just to demonstrate to you how it's working. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, I need to have the value of this field though. So what I'm gonna do is use JS to get the value of the field. Okay. One. No, these are IDs coming in. Okay. Model. Class. Okay, I hope I'm properly specifying the field. Oh, maybe no. Dates ID. Okay. Room rental. Lovely. The only thing is when I do the refresh, it selects the first object in here, but it doesn't limit it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to cheat basically. I'm gonna take drop down model, try load any, and I'm going to take the ID of that one. Let's see if it will work. Yeah, it works. So just to show you, I'm going to put inside here and inside here as well. So by default, it takes the first entry of drop-down's model, gonna take its ID and put it inside a condition. If I choose something else, it will of course show that one instead. Question: do we need to show the title of selected field, or it's fine like that?
It should be fine like that.
So there we go. Status, we have status. Oh, checked in, yeah. So that's basically the checkbox. Yep. Now we need the ability to check in a student.
Yep.
And well, let's try. We could do a button or maybe a checkbox, and I want to see if we can actually do the checkbox. How was the checkbox working inside the grid? it doesn't work. I'm gonna go with the button. So in theory, I can also have a checkbox and some really easy way to operate that. But instead, I'm gonna go with buttons. I'm gonna say button. Okay, so whenever someone comes in, I'm going to click the button. When the button is clicked, in this case in particular, it sends an AJAX request back to the backend. And the way how I can see this is an actual request is by using if get check-in. And then here, as usual, I need to execute some JavaScript chain. Yes, new. Okay. Okay. So I click the button. It says checked in. Let's also show the ID. In get checked in 21, checked in 20, and so on. Right. Now we need to load the model, check them in, and refresh the grid. So, first of all, I need to load the model. And one note, I could probably create a new model, enrollment, then I would do load, check in, and I would set the check in. And then save. So I could do that, but I'm usually not doing that because this gives us the model which doesn't have the condition applied. Remember, for this model we had applied the additional condition. So I'm going to reuse the same model I have in a grid. So I could either call it directly by like that, or I could refer it through grid as well, G model. Either way is fine. And now if I'm loading some ID which actually didn't appear on this list because of the drop down or because it some other reason, then it will not it will generate an exception here. Bob is asking, can I also ask confirmation, I suppose, when the button is pressed? You mean like a prompt? Get a method of. I mean, no. The reason is that when I'm adding a column to a grid, it's not actually creating any new object. There is a support to have a plugins inside a grid, but this is not a plugin. It simply puts some HTML in here, applies a jQuery selected on them and turns them into a button, but it's not returning any object. That's why it's implemented like that. Yeah, if you want, you can create a custom column for a grid, and it could interact and get the actual value of ID field and somehow have a method for that. But it's for now it's not how it's done with these buttons. And this is simply for the sake of performance, because if we have 100 rows and 50 fields, then we don't want to create too many objects. So we're trying to keep as less as possible. Okay, so now I'm checking them in. Let's actually see if that works. Oh, and I also need to do the reload of the grid. Here's, and I'm forgetting one other thing, but we'll see it right away. So clicking the check-in. Okay, reload. What was that? Sorry. Record could not be loaded. Grid model enrollment. That's weird. I leave the drop down. I did the drop down 16. Now it's 17. Now it's 26. Yeah, that's actually, I understand what's the problem now. Really tricky to guess. When I'm reloading the grid, it passes the ID, and if that ID is set, it adds a condition for that particular ID. When I'm reloading it later on, it loses this ID, and instead it falls back to this variable instead. So we need to make sure grid doesn't lose the ID when it's being reloaded later on. Yes. So we need to define it as a state get. Maybe here, I'm not sure where. Okay, so now if I try to check in, something new, call to member function JS and non-object. Create. Okay, but it looks like it actually no, it didn't do anything. That's the debug. Select. Okay. in. Nice. Hey, we made it. Yeah, it wasn't easy. Let's use those success messages instead. Okay, so you see it's being reloaded. It shows us some information in there. And for success message, well, let's actually use enrollment. Let's use that model. Student ID. Okay, now it says whom actually checked in. Troy, Jenny Green. Oh, okay. Let's see if we can check in this guy. Works fine.
Great.
Phew, lovely. All right, we got this done. Should we look at the reports now?
Sure.
Okay. And we have a separate page called reports. Let's create that page. Okay. How do we output the report? Well, first of all, let me create a template. So for now, I don't think we created any templates at all. Default. I'm just going to call it report. Report. And what would be the report about? Should be check-in sheet or something?
The first report that we're going to do, we can do a company transcript report, which would allow us to pull a report by a company of all the classes that students have taken.
Already open for me.
Oh, we can.
All right,
you can do that
just,
one then.
Grab this HTML from here. How do the view source? Okay. Okay, thank you. Report. Maybe check-in sheet. Right. Okay, for now I'm just gonna save it like that, and I'm gonna add view null. Report check-in sheet. Okay, so no logo, logo is not there, but we have everything else. I'm going to remove it. Right, so what happens? I'm just adding a view. View is a very basic element which doesn't do nothing. It's just pretty much a div. But I'm saying that instead of default template, which is just a div, it should use the template I'm specifying in here. And then obviously when it's being rendered, it shows me the value of things in here. Speaking of reports, do we also need to pick which sheet we would like to have, like from the list or something?
Yes, we need to pick a specific class to get a sheet for that particular class.
Like that? Or?
Yep.
I want to try something else. And
Okay.
I'm going to comment that. I will bring in the model, probably cheat, and reuse the same model of classes as we have from here. So is it checking sheet only for today's?
No, it would be from any class
from
that
today
you
to the
choose.
future, right? It wouldn't make any sense to print for something in the past.
Yeah, it would be today to the future. Yes.
I want to see how many classes are there. So what I'm gonna do is count. Okay, cool. It's 3 classes. Lovely. And if I drop down the end date requirement, I actually need to do it other way around. Yeah, I only extended 3 classes, so it's still 3 classes. But one of the conditions dropped, so it will show all the classes in the future as well.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, that's actually, by the way, how you do how you can see the number of elements in inside model. All right. Now next thing, I'm going to introduce lister. And lister. Did we talk about lister before? Okay.
No, we haven't talked about a lister
really
yet.
Basic idea, and it is, what if we repeat a block of HTML several times? And try load. Maybe. I'm just gonna output something here. See if it has a name field. It doesn't have a name field. By default, lister uses this lister HTML, which is just outputs a name and separates it with the BR lines. Because we don't have a name, it can't output it. So I'm thinking, how about we do a new expression called name, but instead it would output something else. What could it output? Okay. I suppose it could do the class ID. Oh no, those are classes we're looking at, right? Yeah, we look at class dates.
Yeah.
So class dates. We need to look at this field. Okay, so let's look at this class title ID. If I set, what would happen? And it, so that's lister. Yeah. So it iterates through all the elements, and it shows me just the name. And because I said that the name would be expression, which would have contain a class field ID, that's what it gives me. By the way, if I wanted to do expression, which kind of shows me a different field, if I type something like that, it wouldn't work because it's not a physical field. But I can do get element class field ID. So if I actually pass a field in here, did I get it right? It doesn't work. Get peek how it was defined. Oh yeah, how about if I do that? Yeah, still not good. Oh. Again, I'm not sure how to do it. I haven't tried it before. I suppose we could do it through, as we did before with reference fields, but we need okay. So back to this, it shows me ID, but I don't want ID, I want class this field instead. So when we're working with lister, we can specify a different template as well. It would be called, let's say, list classes template. Okay, now I'm gonna just copy this over and put a different field in there. So instead of ID, it now shows me this other thing. But I could still use the ID, such as, you know, when I'm referencing. ID equals that. Let's see what happens. We have now it's point to reports, and this is how we can select report and build a simple list. So I'm not using grid now. I'm using a really basic primitive object which simply iterates through the model and outputs this chunk of HTML over and over again, and that's lister. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Next, let's do if ID is defined. We don't want lister, otherwise we do use lister. If we know the ID, we can actually show the report. Okay, now if I don't have the ID on top of there, it shows me the list, but if I click on something, it shows me report. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
But the report doesn't have the actual values in there, so we'll need to put in the information, and that information will be coming from at least two different models. Let's get the enrollment model. Enrollment. I'm gonna start again incorrectly and then do it better. Model.
Okay.
Like that, and I'm gonna do echo enrollment count. So let's see how many possible values there are in enrollment. 27. So if I would say enrollment load get ID, I know that this is vulnerable, and I could do 17 and then choose any field in here. So potentially I could specify any enrollment and print it out. But logically, there are only 3 enrollments which user could select on this tab. So why should the user be able to choose any enrollment on if he messes with the ID? That's my usual thinking. So instead, I'd like to use the model which I had before, which is M, and use the ref to enrollment like that. Got it loaded. No, that's done. That's not the right way to load. I need to load it before. PD. Okay. So now when I do it like this, it shows me I only have 7 students in there. Yeah, so sorry, before it was showing me all the students. Right now it loads this model which was defined before, and it says show me all the students for that particular, which are linked with that particular class date. Does it make sense?
Yes. I was going to ask you if you could do a variable, or I'm sorry, if we could see the query
sure,
that creates.
Let's think where we start. So first of all, I think there's going to be 2 queries. The first one is which actually loads the record number 17 from the class. And I know it's not necessary. We could simply maybe just get an enrollment and not condition for that 17. But as I mentioned before, if we just simply allow users to put any ID, they can bypass some of the logic there. So we'll load that one. And after we do, we traverse inside here. And that's the other query. So it selects, it does the count from enrollment, where ID is 17, and it gives us 7. So that's that. But instead of showing the count, we have this view in here. Well, let's experiment and turn it into a lister, because view doesn't support iterations, but lister does, and do the set model enrollment. Okay, so what happens now, it repeats that block several times. So it's being repeated 7 times, and it attempts to put some values inside, but not exactly what we want. So the next thing is to look inside a complete lister. The complete lister is slightly different, and it has some requirements towards our template. In particular, it wants us to highlight one area which needs to be repeated over and over again. And this is this area over here, TR. The structure is very common. So I'm saying after this ID, after this line, I'm going to have multiple rows, and then I'm going to define the rows. So I'm defining the first row. Okay, I will need to put it here. Then the definition for the row finishes, but there are still a couple of rows which I don't care about. So and then rows finish over here. Okay, is that clear? Okay, so let's see what happens now.
Yes.
Now I have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So you see that the template only been using once, but it's being repeated 7 times. This array is being repeated 7 times. Another significant thing is that I didn't change the HTML. I just added the tags, which is one of the main principles in Agile Toolkit. Do not change the HTML. Try not to change it. All right, so we have a name of the person here. Let's try putting name, see if it works. No, it doesn't work. So let's look at the fields in enrollment. it has student ID. So I believe the field was called student ID 2, and now we have students in here. So that's our students. Email. Do we have email? Well, email we don't have. And at this point, we might actually think that we actually need either to do some join, or instead of having just enrollments, somehow we need to get those additional fields. So there are several ways, of course. Let's look at one. So here I have my enrollment. I'm gonna do debug so we could see the query as I'm changing it. And it selects from the table called enrollment, and that's it. Now, if I say enrollment, join, and the table I want to join is sorry, I need to look here, student. And the field for joining is student ID. Okay, let's go back and see what changed. Still have these in here, but something more here. So from enrollment, inner join student, it does the alias for the student, and SID equals enrollment student ID. So we still have 7 elements, so everything is good. Now that we have this join, I'm gonna put the join object inside the variable student. And then through this join object, I can add additional fields. Add field, email. And now that I have this field, I can also put the tag in here. Okay, let's see what happens with the query. Oh, you see there is an email in there. And inside the query, email. Okay, this is our field, email, s.email. So as you see, other fields are prepended with enrollment, but this particular field is prepended with s, which is why we, which is because we use the student in here. Company name.
Okay.
Now, how we get a company name? We might need to do another join, right? Okay, let's do another join. Student, this, well, we can either traverse through this relationship from enrollment, or we could go to student and then inside the company. I suppose it's the same thing because they pretty much duplicate. Agile supports both. So we could say company equals student joining table company, and the field we're using is company ID. Okay, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 only. So there's something lacking in there. Let's try. What was the left join? The one which, yeah, but left join we are not losing any records. So let's have left join here as well, just to make sure, just in case there's some data missing, we can still see what's happening. Right, and now we need a company and field. What was in the company name? Well, it's called differently, company name here. But if we would have identical field, again the name inside this company, we can actually rename them. So when we the first is how a field will look, and the second is how it looks inside the database. So if I do something like that, it will create a field name, inside the model, and you see the company name is coming inside here. But that's not nice in this case. I need a company name, and I don't need this aliasing. I just wanted to show you that it is possible. Signature. I'm not sure what the day 1, day 2, day 3 is. Right? What are the days for? Oh, this is empty.
The days, those will not be filled out by the system. This sheet is meant to be printed and handed out to students so that they can sign their name at the days. So they sign their name, and then the instructor actually checks off the days.
So I'm not worrying about that. Also, it looks like there's some div is not being closed somewhere, and that's why we have this footer overlapping. Or maybe it's because of the debug. So I'm going to remove that. Oh yeah, it was because of the debug. Right. Finally, these fields. Start date, length, class. We also need to populate these. And but before I go there, we have quite a mess in here, and you could say there's a lot of business logic in here, but it's a presentation layer. It shouldn't have this business logic. What can we do to not have it? And again, as we did before, we can create a new model which is based on enrollment. You could call it enrollment report. And simply move all of this inside this model in here, and I'm gonna do enrollment equals this, so I don't rewrite the code. When I do ref, I should also be able to choose enrollment report. hasMany. Okay. Right. So I lost those, but I need to change enrollment report in here, and they're back. So let's quickly review. So I created a new model which has all these joins, and now I'm just using that model, and the complexity is hidden inside the model, and I just take this enrollment and connect it with a lister, and it shows things, and we're happy. Right. The next thing is we need to populate these fields in here, and if we want to change something inside the HTML, it needs to be a tag. So what is a 01 start date? Start date. And this information from a class schedule, right? Start date, laptops, how many, duration.
Yep, class schedule.
Does it contain hours or just 6?
Let me see. I don't think you actually need the hours in there. It should be.
Okay. So what I'm planning to do now, I added a couple of fields here. I'm using the form for the tags, which is opening and closing. So if I don't change anything inside my code, it will still look the same, preserve the same look if I refresh the page. But if I tell the template to change these things, then we're gonna have some new values in here. And any view in Agile Toolkit has a template. So I'm going to call it report set model, but I could do also report template set start date, and then put something so we can see that actually changed the template. So what I was saying, it works with any template, a form, a grids template, the menu template, even the applications template. I can always put something inside there. And we want information from the class, which I think was this m. Okay, let's do and get. Right. So start date 6 hours. This is information now coming from the database. Class Microsoft Excel instead of PowerPoint. I need to delete hours because they looks like they're stored in the database, and so on. Location. We could populate additional fields in here as well. And what's locations like? Location cancelled. Yeah, I think it's the same thing, but location. Yeah, it is not coming from the database. It's just the values are the same. I'm not sure what is the instructor. I don't think we'll have instructor in here. Oh no, we do. Okay, Mark Bush. So that's how we can change some things inside any view basically. Total number of students 3. Let's change that as well. Student count, and it was enrollment. Seven. I think that's all. That's Carlos' information here.
You got it. The rest of it is filled out at the class.
Finally, is how do we get this page information without the header and footer? And there is an easy way in Agile Toolkit where you say cut page equals 1, and then it only shows me actual page in here. So that we can use that for printing, such as the print button. Open a new window, or some other things. Should we have a print button? Okay.
Yep.
Now we can actually combine. So you see we have this listed before, list classes. What if we had another link in here, said print, and it would not only contain ID but also say cut page 1. I need some sort of space. So if I click print, it automatically shows me like that. And I can also do the target blank so that they don't accidentally close. Now you open a new window. The only thing is really remaining is when we're showing this, we need to open this print dialog. In JavaScript, print this page. I think it was some sort of window print or something. Yeah. So we need to add this JavaScript to our page. This GS. So the GS has a functionality where it can output any JavaScript at all, because we don't want to bother creating a separated method for this and put inside our library. So we can just say print. I mean, it wouldn't affect this page, but if I click print, come on, it should come up with a dialog. It certainly is there. Maybe some security thing, I don't know. What an error. Oh, right, I forgot the semicolon afterwards. Maybe not. Oh yeah. So the problem is it tries to do some JavaScript inclusion here, which is just a default behavior, but it fails. It can't do that. Okay, we'll do it a different way. There is a view called HTML, and I can pretty much add anything I want to the page. So again, I still have that error now. It's still popping out, but at least it's not preventing me from having the print button here. Okay. So let's test. I click print, it opens a new window, the print comes up, then I close this window and I'm back to the list, printing the next one if I want to. Okay. Alright, so Bob, do you have any questions? Or Lee maybe. Lee, you should be able to come up with some interesting questions. Yeah.
Lee's on mute.
Okay. So let me look at the list. What we haven't did yet. So we only did one report. Could probably do more reports, but at least I showed how we approach building the reports, and we also. I also was thinking about showing some budgeting and calculating some fields. I showed the basics how we can do that, but I guess that's again gonna be left for the next level, next Hangout. So want to see how many people checked in, and based on this information want to calculate how much money we're getting. Some things like income and exports, and also we probably need to be able to send invoices to the people, and that's probably the area where
yes,
our reports will intersect with emails, and know how do we do the report and put that inside an email template. All right.
Well, that was great.
A lot of information.
My brain hurts.
Need to watch this a few times.
Yes, but very good.
Yeah.
Let's see if anybody has any questions on
I have
the
to
side
say,
here.
we're still scratching the surface. There are many more things possible. We're just gonna go deeper. Okay, so thanks everyone for attending and or watching this video on YouTube. We're gonna be here 1 week from now, next Wednesday at 6 o'clock GMT. Or is it GMT now? It is GMT, right? Anyway, London time. So I see you in a week, and thanks for watching. Bye.